The hallway was buzzing with chatter, sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, but to Emma it all felt muted, like she was trapped inside a glass box. She kept her head low, her long brown hair falling like a curtain around her face, shielding her from the cruel eyes that always seemed to find her. For 3 years at East Ridge High, she had been the quiet girl, not the smart one, not the athletic one. Just the silent shadow moving through the corridors, invisible until someone wanted to remind her how weak she supposedly was. That day, as she gripped her books to her chest and climbed the stairwell to her next class, the laughter behind her made her body stiffen. She didn't even need to turn around to know who it was. Josh and Tyler, the kings of cruelty. They were seniors, broad-shouldered, cocky, and bored. And boredom for them meant tormenting whoever looked like an easy target. Emma had always been at the top of their list. "Hey, Mouse," Josh's voice echoed in the stairwell. "You forget how to squeak? Or are you too busy hiding behind your books again?" Emma's steps quickened, but she didn't respond. She had learned long ago that answering only made things worse. Her silence, however, seemed to feed their irritation even more. Suddenly, a hard shove jolted her from behind. Her feet slipped, and before she could react, her body went tumbling forward. Her books scattered like leaves, her shoulders smacked against the railing, and then her knees hit the landing with a thud that sent pain shooting up her legs. The laughter roared above her. "What? Didn't know the mouse could fly!" Tyler howled, slapping Josh on the back. Emma lay still for a moment, her palms stinging from where they had scraped the floor. She could feel tears welling up, but something inside her snapped that day. Not a bone, but something deeper. The humiliation, the bruises, the endless torment, all of it fused into a sudden, fierce blaze. Slowly, she pushed herself up, her hair falling away from her face to reveal eyes burning with something no one at East Ridge had ever seen before. Josh smirked, expecting her to gather her books and scurry away like always. Instead, Emma stood tall, her chest heaving, her hands curling into fists. Her voice, low but steady, cut through their laughter. "Do that again." The boys blinked, taken aback. Tyler raised an eyebrow, then grinned. "What was that, Mouse? You want a replay?" He lunged forward, pretending to shove her again. But this time, Emma's hand shot out like lightning, catching his wrist. In one swift movement, she twisted and pulled, a motion she had practiced countless times in the silence of her room, where no one knew she had been teaching herself self-defense videos for months. Tyler yelped, the cocky grin collapsing into shock. And then it happened, a sharp, clean crack followed by his scream echoing down the stairwell. He collapsed, clutching his ankle, his face pale with pain. Josh froze, his laughter evaporating into horror. Emma's eyes flicked to him, steady, unflinching. "Your turn." Josh tried to cover his fear with bravado, charging at her in a burst of fury. But Emma sidestepped, her movements precise and controlled. She swept her leg low, knocking his balance out from under him. As he stumbled, she pinned his arm and twisted his ankle with practiced force. Another crack filled the air, followed by his anguished cry. Both bullies lay crumpled on the floor now, their power shattered in an instant. The stairwell was no longer filled with laughter. It was filled with silence, a silence that spread quickly as students began to gather, drawn by the noise. Dozens of eyes widened as they saw the scene, the quiet girl standing tall, her bullies broken at her feet. Emma's heart pounded, but her face remained calm. She bent down, picked up her books, and looked at the boys one last time. "You don't get to decide who I am anymore." The crowd parted as she walked through, whispers following her like a tide. "Did you see that?" She took them both down. "She's not quiet anymore." For the rest of the day, the story spread like wildfire. By the final bell, everyone at East Ridge knew what had happened. Teachers were stunned, the principal called her into the office, and the nurse tended to the bully's injuries. But for the first time in years, Emma didn't feel small. She didn't feel invisible. She felt powerful. The challenges didn't disappear overnight. The administration warned her about excessive force, and whispers of fear mingled with respect in the hallways. Some students admired her, others avoided her. And at home, Emma cried into her pillow, not because she regretted what she did, but because she had finally released years of pain all at once. It was overwhelming, but the shift was permanent. No one shoved her down the stairs again. No one whispered, "Mouse," when she walked by. Instead, people looked at her with a mix of awe and caution. And Emma, for the first time, began to lift her head in class, to speak when she had something to say, to meet people's eyes without flinching. The message wasn't about violence. It wasn't about revenge. It was about standing up when no one thought you could, about breaking the chains of silence and fear. Emma didn't snap their ankles just to hurt them. She snapped the illusion that she was powerless. And in the end, the quiet girl taught the whole school a lesson they would never forget: the ones who look weakest are often the ones who carry the strongest fire. The school bell rang, echoing through the halls of East Ridge High. Students spilled out of classrooms, their voices bouncing off the lockers like 1,000 conversations colliding at once. But in the middle of all that noise was Emma, silent, small, and unnoticed. She walked with her books clutched to her chest, her eyes locked on the floor as if daring not to exist too loudly. She wasn't dumb. She wasn't strange. She was simply quiet, so quiet that people gave her a name that stuck like glue: Mouse. At first it was just a nickname whispered in the back rows. Then it became a chant in the cafeteria, a joke in gym class, and finally an excuse for cruelty. Josh and Tyler, the self-proclaimed kings of the hallway, made her their favorite target. Their sneakers squeaked as they followed her into the stairwell that day, smirking like hunters closing in on prey. "Careful, Mouse," Josh sneered, nudging her shoulder. "Wouldn't want you tripping again." Emma kept her head low. She'd learned that silence was the only shield she had. But silence had its cracks, and through those cracks anger had been building. Anger she didn't even know how to name. Tyler grinned, looking at Josh. "Bet she won't even squeak if we push her." Before Emma could react, a sharp shove sent her tumbling forward. The books flew, her knees scraped against the landing, and pain exploded in her shoulder. Their laughter rang out, cruel and echoing. Lying there, Emma wanted to cry. She wanted to disappear like she always did. But something inside her snapped, something years in the making. She pushed herself up, her hair falling away from her face, and for the first time, she locked eyes with them, and she spoke. "Do that again." The words were quiet, but they cut through their laughter like a blade. The boys froze. Tyler chuckled, trying to brush off the sudden tension. "What was that, Mouse? You want to try me?" He stepped forward, shoving his hand out. But this time, Emma didn't fall. She caught his wrist with startling precision, twisted, and with a sharp movement, dropped him to the ground. His ankle twisted beneath him, and a loud crack filled the air. His scream replaced his laughter. Josh's grin faltered. "What the?" He lunged at her, but Emma moved like someone who had been waiting for this moment. Months of late night training in her room, following self-defense tutorials, had built her instincts. She sidestepped, swept his leg, and with one swift twist, another sickening crack echoed. Both bullies were down now, clutching their ankles, their faces pale with shock and pain. Students gathered at the stairwell entrance, their gasps filling the silence. Nobody could believe what they were seeing. The quiet girl who never spoke had taken down the two strongest bullies in school. Emma bent down, picked up her books one by one, her movements calm, deliberate. Then she looked at the boys and spoke again, her voice steady. "You don't get to decide who I am anymore." The crowd parted as she walked through, her steps steady, her back straight. Whispers followed her, spreading like wildfire through the school. By the end of the day, Emma wasn't just Ms. anymore. She was the girl who stood up, the girl who snapped the chains of silence, the girl who reminded everyone that the ones they underestimate often carry the strongest fire.